movies, I'm embarrassed to say now, the Top Gun. I thought that was cool, and I wanted to be just like that. And so I majored in mechanical engineering. I had an ROTC scholarship at Boston University, and I just, really without thinking, just went about that path. My family didn't stop to think, is this really what I like? Is this making me happy? Does this fit who I am? It was more, this is practical, this will result in a job, and that's really what I was thinking. So I was commissioned an officer out of ROTC, and my timing was, I was in the first wave of women to be stationed aboard combatant ships. That was another thing that led me to the military. New opportunities were opening for women in defense fields and in the military, and I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to prove that women could do it, and they could do it by just blending in. And so, after I was commissioned and became what's called a surface warfare officer. So I served on board a destroyer and an amphibious assault ship. My job was to the surface warfare officer is a generalist officer on board surface ships. So we stand watch on the bridge, in engineering, in operations. And my job outside of standing watch was, I was a gunnery officer in charge of the missiles, small arms, and naval guns on board. When I first checked on board my ship, there were 2 female officers on board and about 15 enlisted women out of a crew of about 350. On my second ship, there were 3,000 on board when the Marines were embarked, and there were 2 women, and I was one of them. So integration was very slow. Most of the ships were all male. The ships that did have women on board, they had very few women. And just as a note, the destroyer I was on, we were the first integrated destroyer. I do have to say that the mixed gender crew, the 90s, I was after tailhook, and that really rocked naval culture to the core, really changed naval culture, and a lot of diversity training, awareness training had come about. And I believe in those programs. I believe they work. And so the mixed gender crew was very supportive of each other. So I really was fortunate to have male colleagues that were very supportive, and I didn't have issues that way. My crisis was a very personal crisis. When I went in, I realized that I was ill-suited and philosophically opposed to Navy life. I had made the wrong decision, the wrong career path that was not suitable to me, and I'll talk about that later. And philosophically, we were forward deployed out of Japan. I went on 2 Southeast Asian deployments, and I started to see the resources we were using. I started to understand what forward deployed meant, and I started to feel it was wrong, and I did not want to participate in it. So what do you do when you're young, when you're 23, 24 years old? You have a 5-year naval commitment in front of you from your ROTC scholarship. Well, I had, personally, it was a lot of anguish, a lot of depression, but on the outside, I did my job. I did everything the Navy asked for me until my 5 years was up, and that was in February 2001. In that time, it really forced me to look into myself, understand why I had made the decisions I had made to join the military, and get a sense of who I was authentically. That's probably the gift that I came out of the military with. And so I regrouped after I got out, and I went back to graduate school and I studied literature. That is my true love. I love the arts and fulfillment through the arts. And after I completed my graduate studies, I started writing about my experience, and my book was just published in February. It's called Long Way Out, as everyone read.
Only $20.
And so I got the idea to write this book because, and we're going to talk about this in a later slide, but there really are very few writings of women's experience in the military. And they focus on a few specific topics that we'll be talking about primarily. And I wanted to provide a raw narrative that was free of self-glorification and glorification of the service, that was honest, that doesn't always paint me in a positive light, that paints me in crisis.